Before we go any further, do this one thing: hit subscribe, leave a comment you won't forget, and lock in, because once you step inside this story, there's no easy way out. The first alarm went off at 3:17 a.m., slicing through the frozen quiet of Fremont County like a blade. Red lights strobed across the outer perimeter of ADX Florence, the most secure prison in the United States. A place so isolated it looked less like a correctional facility and more like a military installation dropped into the Colorado desert by mistake. Towers stood like watchful giants. Concrete walls swallowed sound. And inside those walls, something had gone terribly wrong. Correctional officers sprinted towards cell block D, their boots pounding against polished concrete. Radios crackled with overlapping voices, confusion layered on top of urgency. An inmate count had failed. In a prison where every movement is tracked, where doors are controlled from a central command room, where prisoners spend 23 hours a day alone, an inmate not responding to count was unheard of. They reached the cell and stopped. The man inside, inmate number 8871404, sat perfectly still on the steel bed. His hands were folded neatly in his lap. His eyes were open. He was alive. And yet, something about the scene felt wrong. The cell was too orderly, too deliberate. No signs of a struggle, no broken fixtures, just silence so heavy it pressed against the officers' chests. Then one of them noticed the wall, scratched faintly into the concrete. Almost invisible unless the light hit it just right. Word for words, "I was never alone." ADX Florence wasn't supposed to produce mysteries. It was designed to erase them. Opened in 1994, the prison holds the men the federal system considers unmanageable: terrorists, cartel leaders, serial killers, masterminds who continue to command violence from behind bars. Here, isolation is the weapon. Each inmate lives in a concrete box, monitored constantly. Stripped of communication, cut off from all influence. In theory, nothing happens at ADX Florence without permission. That belief shattered the moment investigators stepped into the facility later that morning. Special Agent Daniel Mercer arrived just after sunrise. He had spent 15 years chasing organized crime across 3 states, but there inside ADX felt different. He'd walked into murder scenes before, interrogated men who smiled while lying, but this place radiated something colder, controlled, surgical, almost inhuman. Warden Elaine Crowley met him at the security gate. Her expression was tight, professional, but her hands betrayed her. She'd built her career on rules, systems, and order. This incident threatened all 3. "We don't have a body," she said as they walked. "We don't have an escape. We don't even technically have a crime. But I've been here 12 years, Agent Mercer." "That message on the wall doesn't belong here." Mercer nodded. He'd already reviewed the inmate's file. Marcus Hale, former financial engineer turned domestic extremist strategist. Convicted of coordinating attacks without ever pulling a trigger himself. Brilliant, quiet, dangerous in ways that didn't leave fingerprints. Transferred to ADX Florence after investigators determined he was still influencing cells on the outside from inside a standard maximum security prison. ADX was supposed to silence him. Mercer stood outside Hale's cell, studying the man through the narrow window. Hale didn't move. Didn't blink. Just stared straight ahead, as if waiting. "Has he spoken?" Mercer asked. "Not since count," Crowley replied. "Not to staff. Not to medical. He refuses to acknowledge anyone." Inside the command center, technicians pulled footage from every camera connected to cell block D. ADX Florence had no blind spots. At least, that's what everyone believed. The video showed Hale alone in his cell. Always alone. Sitting. Standing. Lying down. Hours passed in seconds as Mercer watched the footage scrub forward. No visitors. No doors opening. No shadows crossing the threshold. And yet, something didn't add up. At 2:41 a.m., the camera glitched. It lasted less than 2 seconds. A flicker. A distortion. The kind of thing technicians usually dismissed as static or signal interference. Mercer leaned closer. Run that again. They slowed it down, frame by frame. The image warped, then stabilized. But in that instant just before clarity returned there was movement. Not hail. Something else. A shape, darker than the shadows, standing near the back wall of the cell. Gone in the next frame. The room fell silent. That's impossible, one technician whispered. ADX Florence didn't allow contact between inmates. Doors were sealed electronically. Guards never entered cells alone. No one moved without authorization. And yet the wall still bore that message. I was never alone. As the day wore on, the investigation widened. Mercer interviewed guards, medical staff, administrators. Every answer led back to the same conclusion: procedures had been followed. Counts were accurate. Logs were clean. No alarms had been triggered before 3:17 a.m. Everything was to clean. Then came the first contradiction. A junior officer, barely 2 years on the job, hesitated during questioning. His name was Evan Brooks, nervous, overworked, exhausted. Mercer noticed the tremor in his hands before Brooks spoke. I heard something, Brooks said quietly. When? Earlier this week. Late shift. I was doing perimeter checks near D block. I thought it was ventilation at first. But it sounded like tapping. Like someone knocking from inside the walls. The warden stiffened. ADX walls are solid concrete, she said. There's no hollow space. Brooks swallowed hard. Then explained how it sounded like Morse code. That was the moment Mercer felt at the shift. The sense that this wasn't about a single inmate anymore. This was about the prison itself. A forensic team examined Hale's cell that evening. They found no contraband, no tools, no hidden devices. But behind the toilet fixture, barely noticeable unless you knew where to look, was a hairline crack in the concrete. Inside it, folded tighter than seemed possible, was a strip of paper. No words. Just numbers. Coordinates. Mercer recognized them instantly. They didn't point outside the prison. They pointed inward to a maintenance corridor listed as permanently sealed in the ADX blueprints. A corridor no one was supposed to access. A corridor that, according to official records, didn't exist anymore. Mercer looked up from the paper, his jaw tightening. Who had access to this area? He asked. The warden didn't answer immediately. When she finally did, her voice was barely above a whisper. Only people who built this place. The lights hummed overhead. Cameras continued to watch every corner. And somewhere inside ADX Florence, behind concrete and steel, a secret older than the prison itself was waiting, one that suggested Marcus Hale hadn't he been silenced at all. He'd been listening. And when they unlocked the sealed maintenance door beneath D block, what they found inside would change everything. The full story is just getting started, so make sure you're subscribed for part 2. Thanks for watching.